Hey there, this is Alex Klugen. I'm here from Toronto Home Experts. And before we begin, I just wanted to thank you so much for coming to our channel. Please hit that like button and subscribe to our channel. It really helps the Google algorithms. All right, so let's jump into the July 2024 Toronto real estate market update. Okay, so summer months typically we see slowdown in sales, increase in inventory, and so I don't want to read too much into July's numbers, but there's some interesting trends that are developing. And again, it's too early to know what that means for the fall market, but may give us some clues and hints. So why don't we jump right in? Okay, so active listings. This is compared to last year. We're actually up 55%. Okay, so that looks like a startling number, and it's a jump. Like it's a big jump, and we're certainly seeing an increase in active listings throughout the spring market, which is not a great sign. Basically, what that means is there's more inventory that's building, and not enough of the inventory is getting absorbed. So there's not enough sales. So and this is a trend that we've noticed this spring, right? So we've noticed it if you watch the channel. We saw this in May. We saw this again in June. And no surprise we see it in July. This is a pretty big jump. Compared to where we were last year, certainly this is a big number. So again, I'm not going to put too much weight into this because it is July. But we are noticing a trend, right? We are noticing, despite the fact that we had two interest rate drops from the Bank of Canada. So 50 basis point drop so far into our, I guess, the start of the rate cutting that the Bank of Canada has now started with their overnight lending rate. So what does that mean? Just because the rates drop like 50 basis points, we shouldn't expect an automatic like rush to buy listings. Like I think this is certainly what I'm noticing in the market is that there's a lot of buyers that are sort of on pause, I would say. There's certainly a lot more interest and inquiries about potentially buying real estate in Toronto. And that's signaling because we've effectively reached the top, or which I think the top of where mortgage rates were. So I mean, again, demand goes hand in hand with interest rates, specifically with real estate, especially where we are right now with Toronto real estate. Is like so. One of the things that I want to watch is the absorption rate. Like, so let's get into some of those numbers shortly, but I want to see how much of that inventory gets absorbed. I'm not taking too much when it comes to July numbers and August as well, but September is going to be a really telling month. But again, we're a couple months away from that. So, but average price, okay, so average price basically call it flat from where we were last year, and again, this has basically been the theme when we look at sort of our market update videos over the last year. Like we might see plus 2%, minus 2%, but basically we've been flat. So prices have not effectively moved when it comes to prices in the Toronto area. So average price, now this is something that's a little bit more interesting to dive into, is, and this doesn't look great, right? Like, so average prices are down like 4.8%. And like, so, this is nothing to really be concerned about. Like, this is not certainly the start of a trend that we're going to see like massive price declines, but 4.8% is a pretty big number when we're looking at, certainly past. But, if you look at the trend from June to July, like over the last 20 years, it's basically a drop in average prices for all except for 2 years, right? So it's not surprising that we see a drop in prices. And why is that? Well, like if you look at it, July, people are typically on holidays. The spring market is effectively over, call it like June 30th. And so effectively the houses and condos that are still for sale in July are often carryovers from June. So that's why we see typically inventories rise, sales volumes decline, and prices coming down a little bit. Again, this happens almost every year, so I'm not really concerned. But 4.8 is a little bit larger than average, so just something that we want to keep an eye out for next month and certainly into September as well. Okay, so sales volume, we're up 3.3% over year of year. So, last year was the lowest July on record, so we're now the second lowest. on record for the last 22 years. So, nothing to be overly excited about. But, as I said before, like July market typically is slower, and August is actually slower than July. So I'm wanting to track to see how we do August wise, especially since we had an interest rate cut in early July, and see how that factors into volumes for this next month. All right. Well, thank you so much for tuning in. This is a short video, but I just want to basically give you the highlights and overviews of what's happening in the Toronto real estate market. Stay tuned for the next couple months. It's going to be really, really fascinating to see what happens, because I think August and certainly September are going to set the tone for what to expect for the fall market. So tune in, and we'll see you then. Thanks so much.